Evening entertainment for New Year's Day begins with Grease 2, and there's friction between the T-Birds and the Pink Ladies.
I could kiss the next guy who walks through that door if I won.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Be my guest.
Then at 7:35, Les drops in for half an hour of fun and games in Blankety Blank. At 8:05, a television premiere, Out of Africa, starring Meryl Streep and Robert Redford.
Do you sing?
Never.
Can you tell a story then?
I happen to be very good at stories.
I believe that.
What's up, pussycat? What's new, pussycat?
Entertainment for New Year's Day, here on BBC One.
Over on BBC Two shortly, there's a rock review of the decade, with highlights from the most outstanding pop performances on BBC television over the past 10 years, in programmes as diverse as Whistle Test, Crackerjack and Wogan. And while they concentrate on the music of the decade, we concentrate on the events, with the added bonus of Jerry Hall and the wry comment of Clive James on the 80s.
Welcome to a unique event at the end of a unique decade. Welcome to the National Theatre of Memory, and welcome to a fabulous night of remembrance that will itself be unforgettable. And at their own request, we're joined tonight by a host of celebrated guests, arriving even now to attend this momentous occasion and voyage with us across the stormy seas of the 1980s. Surely our glittering review of an equally glittering decade is made even more special by the presence of these dazzling personalities who were themselves the very essence of this historic period. As even the latecomers arrive, perhaps one can sense in their smiles a certain excitement, a feeling of achievement, as we enter the last 2 hours of a lustrous 10 years. And as they draw together with us here in the theatre, tonight becomes, in a very real sense, a drawing together of the strands of time, as we pause momentarily before stepping forward into a new age. Now, will you welcome, please, the man who tonight will hold those same strands in his hands. Ladies and gentlemen, your host, your guide, your companion through the decade, Mr. Clive James.
In the next 2 hours, 10 years that reshaped the world will come to an end. Later on, I'll be joined by Jerry Hall to present the awards for outstanding achievement in this dazzling decade. But first, how did they start, the 1980s? When the decade began, people asked themselves 1,000 questions. What was the greenhouse effect? And would it help with the early tomatoes? Would Prince Charles ever meet a girl he could fall in love with? And would Prince Andrew ever meet one he couldn't? Would Arthur Scargill destroy the British way of life before Arthur Scargill's hairspray destroyed the ozone layer? Would the Prime Minister turn green? And would her husband turn purple? And whatever happened to that nice Joan Collins? These were the questions everyone asked in 1980. Everyone, that is, except Mrs. Thatcher. She already knew all the answers.
Santa Carla is different.
Are you telling me that we moved to the murder capital of the world?
How far are you willing to go, Michael?
Think some of this, Michael. Be one of us.
What's happening to me, Star? Even though you're a vampire, you're still my brother.
Now you know what we are. Now you know what you are.
They're The Lost Boys, a film for New Year's Day at 10:15 on BBC One.
The once bad boys of rock and roll, the Rolling Stones, begin a classic concert from their Urban Jungle tour on BBC Two shortly. Here on One Now, it's time to join Clive James as he says goodbye to 1990 and welcomes in the new year. And what better location for this big occasion than Wembley Stadium?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host for this evening, Mr. Clive James.
Welcome to Wembley Stadium. And let's hear it from the biggest studio audience in television history, 100,000 people. The world, hundreds of millions of people at home are joining us to see out the old year, sing in the new, and find out who wins the award for the man or woman of the year in 1990. So from everybody here, let's hear it again for everybody out there.